Scary telling.
As I walked into the history department's office on the first day of my graduate studies, I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and apprehension. The university was known for its prestigious academic programs, and I was honored to have been accepted into the history department. However, I had also heard rumors about a mysterious and reclusive professor named Dr. Johnson, who was assigned to be my mentor for the semester. When I finally met Dr. Johnson, I was struck by how strange and enigmatic he seemed. He was tall and thin with a gaunt, almost skeletal face, and he spoke in a low, almost whispery voice. He didn't smile or offer any pleasantries, and he seemed more interested in studying me than in introducing himself. Over the next few weeks, I attended Dr. Johnson's lectures and worked on research projects for him. However, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about him. He was always surrounded by an air of mystery, and he seemed to disappear for long stretches of time without explanation. As I delved deeper into my research, I started to hear whispers from other students about Dr. Johnson's past students. Some had disappeared without a trace, while others had gone insane or dropped out of the program altogether. The rumors were unsettling, and I found myself becoming more and more curious about what had happened to them. One day, while working in the library, I stumbled upon an old journal hidden in the stacks. It was written by one of Dr. Johnson's former students, and it detailed his descent into madness after becoming too deeply involved in one of Dr. Johnson's research projects. The journal was cryptic and confusing, but it was clear that the student had become obsessed with the research and had lost his grip on reality. Reading the journal sent a chill down my spine. It was clear that there was something deeply wrong with Dr. Johnson's research, and I couldn't help but wonder if his past students had stumbled upon some dark and dangerous secret that he was trying to keep hidden. As the semester progressed, my unease around Dr. Johnson grew. I started to feel like I was being watched, and I couldn't shake the feeling that he was hiding something from me. I knew that I had to be careful around him, but at the same time, I was compelled to uncover the truth about his research and his past students. Overall, I felt like I was caught in a strange and unsettling web of intrigue and danger, and I had no idea what would happen next. After discovering the journal in the library, I couldn't stop thinking about the mysterious and unsettling research that Dr. Johnson was conducting. My curiosity and fascination soon turned into an obsession, and I spent long nights in the library, poring over old books and manuscripts, trying to find any clue about what was really going on. As I continued my research, I began to experience strange and terrifying visions. Sometimes, I would see shadowy figures lurking in the corners of the library, or I would hear faint whispers in my ear, even though no one was there. Other times, I would have vivid nightmares about Dr. Johnson and his past students, and I would wake up covered in sweat, my heart racing. Despite my growing fear and paranoia, I couldn't stop my investigation. I felt like I was on the verge of uncovering a dark and dangerous secret, and I was determined to see it through to the end. One night, while working in the library, I stumbled upon a dusty old book that had been hidden away on a high shelf. The book was bound in cracked leather and had strange symbols etched into the cover. As I flipped through the pages, I realized that it was a grimoire, a book of spells and incantations used in occult rituals. At first, I was hesitant to keep reading, but I couldn't resist the temptation. As I delved deeper into the grimoire, I realized that it contained information about a ritual that was eerily similar to the one described in the journal. It involved summoning a powerful entity from another dimension, and it required a group of people to perform a specific set of actions. I was horrified to realize that Dr. Johnson's research was connected to the ritual in the grimoire. It seemed that he was trying to summon the same entity that had driven his past students to madness and despair. As I continued my investigation, I became increasingly paranoid and afraid. I started to suspect that someone was watching me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was in danger. The visions and nightmares became more frequent and intense, and I realized that I was becoming more and more trapped in a terrifying web of conspiracy and occultism. Despite the danger, I knew that I had to keep going. I had to uncover the truth about Dr. Johnson's research and stop him from summoning the entity. I just hoped that I wasn't already too late. My investigation into Dr. Johnson's research had led me to uncover a dark and dangerous secret. I had found evidence of a ritual that involved summoning a powerful entity from another dimension, and it appeared that Dr. Johnson was involved in the cult that was performing the ritual. I knew that I had to act quickly to prevent the entity from being summoned, but I was increasingly afraid for my own safety. I became more and more paranoid, feeling like I was being watched at all times. I started to suspect that someone was following me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was in danger. I tried to keep a low profile, but I couldn't resist the urge to keep investigating. One day, while walking through the university campus, I spotted a tall, thin figure in the distance. It was too far away to make out any features, but I had a gut feeling that it was Dr. Johnson. I tried to quicken my pace and get away, but the figure seemed to follow me, always just out of sight. As I reached my dormitory, I turned around and saw the figure standing at the end of the hall. It was too dark to see any features, but I knew it was Dr. Johnson. My fear and paranoia had reached a new level, and I knew that I was in real danger. I began to investigate Dr. Johnson's past and soon uncovered his connection to a local cult that was rumored to have practiced dark rituals in the past. I found a small group of former students who had dropped out of the program, and they all had stories about feeling like they were being watched and followed. One of the former students, a girl named Sarah, had even reported seeing strange shadowy figures lurking in the corners of the history department's offices. She had also received mysterious phone calls and letters warning her to stay away from Dr. Johnson's research. As I dug deeper, I learned that Dr. Johnson was a member of the cult and that his research was connected to their activities. It seemed that he was using his position as a professor to recruit new members and to carry out the cult's plans. The more I learned, the more afraid I became. I knew that Dr. Johnson and his followers were dangerous, and I had to stop them before it was too late. But I also knew that I was in over my head and that I needed help. I confided in a few trusted friends and told them everything I had learned. Together, we made a plan to stop Dr. Johnson and his cult from completing the ritual. But as we set our plan in motion, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was still watching us, waiting to strike. As I delved deeper into the dark and dangerous world of Dr. Johnson's research, I knew that I was in real danger. I had uncovered evidence of a ritual that was being performed by a local cult, and it appeared that Dr. Johnson was involved in the group's activities. I had to act fast to stop the ritual before it was too late. My friends and I spent days researching the ritual and its requirements. We discovered that the cult was planning to perform the ritual at the university's old observatory, which was located in a secluded and abandoned part of the campus. The location made it difficult to access, but it also made it an ideal place for the cult to carry out their plan without being noticed. We made a plan to sneak into the observatory and disrupt the ritual. We knew that it was risky, but we also knew that it was the only way to stop the entity from being summoned. As we arrived at the observatory, we could hear chanting and strange noises coming from inside. We knew that we had to act quickly if we were going to stop the cult from completing the ritual. We split up into teams, each with a specific task. Some of us were responsible for creating a distraction, while others were tasked with disabling the equipment used in the ritual. We were nervous and afraid, but we knew that we had to stop the cult from summoning the entity. As we crept into the observatory, we could feel the tension and fear mounting. The chanting grew louder, and we could see the flickering light of candles through the windows. We knew that we had to act quickly if we were going to stop the ritual. One by one, We made our way into the observatory, staying as quiet and as hidden as possible. As we worked to disable the equipment, we could hear the cult members moving about, growing more and more agitated. Suddenly, one of our team members stumbled and made a noise, alerting the cult to our presence. The chanting stopped, and we could hear footsteps approaching. We knew that we were in trouble, but we refused to give up. We kept working to disable the equipment, hoping that we could finish in time. As the cult members burst into the room, we engaged in a fierce battle. The tension was palpable, and we could feel the danger all around us. But we kept fighting, knowing that we had to stop the ritual at all costs. Despite the danger, we were able to disrupt the ritual and prevent the entity from being summoned. We fought bravely and fiercely, using every weapon at our disposal to protect ourselves and the university. In the end, we emerged victorious. We had stopped Dr. Johnson and his cult from summoning the entity, but we knew that we had put ourselves in grave danger. As we left the observatory, we could see the cult members disappearing into the night, vanishing into the shadows. We knew that we had won this battle, but we also knew that the war was far from over. As we emerged from the observatory, we felt a sense of relief and triumph. We had stopped Dr. Johnson and his cult from completing the ritual and summoning the entity, but we knew that our victory had come at a great cost. We were shaken and traumatized by the experience, and we knew that we would never be the same. We had seen things that we could never unsee, and we had faced a danger that most people would never even imagine. As we regrouped and made our way back to our dormitories, we knew that there was still work to be done. We had to confront Dr. Johnson and the cult, and we had to make sure that they would never be able to carry out their plan again. We gathered our evidence and made a plan to present it to the authorities. We knew that we had to act quickly if we were going to stop Dr. Johnson and the cult from covering up their activities. As we met with the authorities, we presented our evidence and told them everything we knew. We could see the shock and horror on their faces as they listened to our story, and we knew that we had finally exposed the truth. Dr. Johnson and the members of the cult were arrested and brought to trial. They were found guilty of a number of charges, including conspiracy, fraud, and attempted murder. They were sentenced to life in prison, and we knew that we had finally put an end to their dangerous and illegal activities. As we reflect on our experience, we knew that we had been lucky to escape with our lives. We had faced a danger that most people could never imagine, and we had fought bravely and fiercely to stop it. We knew that our lives would never be the same, but we also knew that we had done the right thing. We had stopped Dr. Johnson and his cult from summoning the entity, and we had exposed their dangerous and illegal activities to the world. As we looked to the future, we knew that we would always be haunted by our experience. But we also knew that we had gained a strength and resilience that would stay with us for the rest of our lives. And as we moved forward, we knew that we would always be ready to face whatever dangers lay ahead.